Evaluator Rick Grant.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I am proud to introduce Kris Poole's next piece. Now, she's working on the Path Presentation Mastery, and this is a level 1 project. And her goal is to speak for 5 to 7 minutes on a speech that will allow her to review the basic methods for writing a speech with a defined purpose and then present a well-organized speech, which we know she's done many times in the past. But this time, she's challenged herself, or allowed one of her fellow Toastmasters to challenge her, to write something that's a little more serious than we've heard from her in the past. Her speech today is entitled Facing Fears and Confronting Realities. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Kris?
Oh, you didn't have the actual introduction?
I don't have it. I'm sorry.
Okay, I emailed it to you. Let me grab it and put it into the chat for you.
I don't have it.
All right, it's in the chat for you.
Thank you. Most of you know Kris is afraid of most animals and creepy crawly creatures. But what else is she afraid of? Financial failure? Job loss? Growing old? Developing a debilitating disease? Turning into her mother? Let's learn about a serious side of Kris tonight with her speech titled Facing Fears and Confronting Realities. Thank you, Kris.
Thank you so much, Kate. I know I'm supposed to talk about something serious and we can't even stop laughing and giggling going through that introduction. I always have to have some confounded delusional introduction using those triads, whatever it may be. But getting into the real part of my speech. As the introduction stated, most of you know I am afraid of spiders, bugs, lizards, snakes, mice, moles, voles, dogs, cats, pretty much anything that walks, crawls, slithers, flies. Oh, yeah, did I mention birds, insects, squirrels, and moths? And even sometimes shoelaces, as Chase and Dave Schmidt know. Maybe I have pantophobia. And that's pretty much the equivalent of being afraid of everything. But you know what? But when I stop to think about it, what am I truly afraid of? What are you afraid of? What seems to scare me is the future, specifically knowing that there is a great possibility that I am going to develop Alzheimer's and dementia. And why would you think that I think that this is going to happen to me? I'm only 52 years old. Yes, I'm admitting my age. But my mom started to show her signs of dementia and Alzheimer's when she was 59 years old. She passed away when she was 70. That's a long time to have this disease. Probably when she was about 63, maybe a couple of years or so that she's had this, she pretty much became nonverbal. She knew a little bit what was going on, but she was on that downward spiral. It was starting to have an effect on everything that she did. She started to develop that mentality of a toddler. That's almost how we had to treat her, because that's how we could get somewhat of a reaction with her. I would play cards with her. My mom used to be a card shark. She could strategize when you played canasta, when you played cribbage, any of those games. Sheep's head, oh, she could play with the best of them. But mom, after about age 65, when you wanted to play cards with her, if you actually wanted to follow the rules of a card game, don't even bother. The best way that I learned how to play cards with mom at this stage I dealt out the cards to her and to me. Didn't have a name for it, but I would pick up a card, shuffle some cards around in my hand, discard. And then I would tell Mom, okay, do you want the card that I discarded or you want to take a new card? And she would take a couple new cards. All right, Mom, what's in your hand? Do you want to discard or do you want to just lay down? And she would discard a card. Oh, perfect, Mom, that's the one that I want. And she would just giggle and laugh because I would have that energy in how I interacted with her. There were no trying to follow rules. I knew I would get frustrated if I wanted to try and follow rules. Did you know Alzheimer's begins about 20 years or more before memory loss and other symptoms develop? If there is a family history of Alzheimer's, you have a better chance of developing that disease, but it's not necessary. It can just happen. And things with me just seem to happen. I have lots of those types of issues going on. But if you have a first degree relative, your mom, your dad, you are at a greater risk. There are other factors that contribute to Alzheimer's. We've been hearing about it for how many years? When you look at the statistics, you probably are familiar not with the specifics, but every 65 seconds, one person in the US develops Alzheimer's disease. It is projected that the number of individuals living with Alzheimer's disease will increase to 13.8 million by 2060. In 2022, it was 6.5 million Americans that were living with Alzheimer's. What are you going to do? I don't know if I'm going to make it beyond 75. That's what about the life expectancy is. After a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, that range of life expectancy is 3 years to 11 years. Average medium survival time is 8.5 years. My mom did hit that upper end of that 11 years, but it was not a life. There was no quality to her life. And that's not something that I want to go through. It's not something I want to see my husband go through or anyone have to go through that. This is what scares me. This is what I am afraid of. Dementia, Alzheimer's. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know how much that I can prevent it. Every day, if I can't think of the proper word to use, it starts to run through my head. Am I starting to develop those symptoms or not? We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. I am hoping that my husband will take care of me or have the sense to put me into a nursing home right away so that other people can take care of me. My dad took care of my mom for so many years because she took care of him and all of the kids for 45 years. When she developed Alzheimer's and dementia, he knew it was his time to step up and take care of her. I don't even know if I want to be tested to see if it's in my genes. I don't know. Thinking about even being tested to know this is a possibility scares me to no end. But I want you to think about it. Are you turning into your mother? Are you turning into your father? Who knows? At whatever point in time in your life, are you going to not even remember who you are or who your parents were? Facing the fears. I don't know if I want to. How about you? Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.